Welcome to the Ayer Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, May 21st, 2019. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Couple announcements. First of all, Selectman Livingston is under the weather and can't join us tonight. She feels better soon. Memorial Day Parade will begin at 10 a.m. on this coming Saturday morning, arriving at Town Hall at 10:30 a.m. and Crony Park at 11 a.m. There will be a brief memorial service in both Woodlawn and St. Mary's cemeteries prior to the beginning of the parade. There will be a special town meeting on Monday, June 10th, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the Ayer High School, the high school auditorium to consider non-retail marijuana zoning and form-based code in current downtown business district. Any amendments, Robert?
Mr. Vice Chairman, under the Superintendent of Public Works report, an amendment for item number 4, approval of memo of lease for Ayer East Solar.
So moved.
Second. All in favor of the amended agenda? Anything else?
I propose that we table the reorganization of the Board of Selectmen until all 3 members can be present.
Which might be November, but that's great. The way things have been going. But I second that. All in favor of the approved amended agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'd like to turn it over to you, Scott, for the recognition of the Eagle Scouts.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to introduce some extraordinary young gentlemen from the Boy Scouts of America. These Scouts demonstrated perseverance and diligence to earn the rank of Eagle Scout. To achieve this, they must have worked their way up through the ranks of Scouting and complete a community project. Over the years, these gentlemen have been recognized as members of the Order of the Arrow, which is Scouting's National Honor Society, held leadership positions within their troop and given back to their community. In 2018, only 6.49% of eligible Scouts earned the Eagle Scout rank. Here in our small community of Ayer, we have 9 Eagle Scouts graduating this year. The Ayer Board of Selectmen want to recognize them for their accomplishments and community service. I'd like to introduce Matthew Bluff, Troop 3. Matthew is graduating from Ayer Shirley Regional High School. His project was constructing and installing flower boxes at Sandy Pond Beach. Matt plans to attend UMass Lowell in the fall to study mechanical engineering. Unable to make it tonight is Alex Connery of Troop 7. Alex is graduating from Ayer Shirley Regional High School. His project was providing storage containers and installing light and foundations at the Shirley Gun Club. Alex plans to attend Maine Maritime Academy in the fall. Up next is Jake Driscoll of Troop 2. Jake is graduating from Neshoba Valley Technical High School. His project was implementing house numbering in conjunction with the Ayer Council on Aging, Ayer Fire Department, and the Ayer Police Department. Jake has joined the National Guard where he will be a military police officer. Next is Eric Ravel of Troop 3. Eric is graduating from Ayer Shirley Regional High School. His project was improving the operations and safety of the archery range at the Harvard Sportsman's Club. Eric plans to attend Mount Wachusett in the fall to study engineering.
Congratulations, Eric.
Up next is Robert Hood, Troop 3. Robert is graduating from here.
No, you should be proud. Take your time.
Robert is graduating from Ayer Shirley Regional. Sorry. Promised I wouldn't do this. His project was a pedestrian bridge in Pine Meadow Trust. Robert plans to attend Massachusetts Maritime Academy in the fall to study marine engineering. Good.
Sorry.
Gregory Kidder of Troop 3. Gregory is graduating from Ayer Shirley Regional High School. His project was building and installing flower boxes near the softball fields at Peroni Park. Gregory is enlisted in the U.S. Marines and leaves for basic training shortly after graduation.
Congratulations.
Ryan Kilcumbus of Troop 3. Ryan is graduating from Ayer Shirley Regional High School. His project was assembling and installing 3 benches on concrete pads along the walk path in Peroni Park. Ryan plans to attend the College of the Holy Cross to study history or political science. Unable to make it tonight is Jason Langless of Troop 2. Jason is graduating from Ayer Shirley Regional High School. His project was creating the camping site at Peroni Park. And finally is James Robinson of Troop 2. James is graduating from Ayer Shirley Regional High School. His project was building and installing flower boxes at Peroni Park. James' plans for high school are undecided, but I know he'll land on his feet no matter what he does.
Congratulations, James.
Gentlemen, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, we congratulate you on achieving the prestigious accomplishment and giving back to, of Eagle Scout and giving back to the community for all your hard work. Thank you.
If we could, maybe we have
Everyone a nice
the
photo of Scott.
Eagle Scouts in the, right here, and have you two gentlemen on each
Sure,
side.
sure.
All right.
We'll go this way. You
Can
guys
you
wanna
even
slide
hear me,
over?
Robert?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
A suggestion for a human pyramid?
You want to go on top?
All right. Move closer. Let me get this. This is most impressive.
We all fit in, you guys don't have to get me in the picture, it's fine.
Here, roll that chair.
Yeah. No, we get a nice picture.
These chairs are so big. Just look over toward the doorway.
Yeah, look to the paparazzi.
All right. Great. Awesome, thank you, gentlemen. Great project, guys. Great project. James.
Matt, congratulations.
Ryan, congratulations. See you guys.
This one, Chris.
All right, that works.
I guess
Just to add to that, 8 in such a small community is pretty, it's pretty amazing.
It really is.
The projects are fantastic too. They're noticeable and great for the community.
That's great.
Yeah, I want to stress the journey that these gentlemen have gone on is long, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of support from the families, and anyone who in Ayer that achieves the Eagle Scout rank, or any Girl Scouts who get their Gold Award, definitely deserve to be recognized by the community.
Absolutely, and I think we had several last year too, didn't we? I know we've had since I've been on the board.
Yes, but this-
And this is the biggest group, but.
It's very impressive, and the town, all of the projects not only enhance the town of Ayer, but the whole region.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just used the flag drop-off box that one of the Eagle Scouts did a few years ago down at Peroni Park for, so, great. Anybody here for public input? All right, fantastic. We have application for common vehicular license, the Junction RPD, 68 West Main.
Good job. RPO?
Come on now.
What's RPO?
I don't send it to you.
Oh,
It's supposed to be RPD.
that's what I said, didn't it? Or is it RPO? All right, anyway. I think I read it right.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, before the Board of Selectmen is an application for a common victualer's license for the Junction RPD at 60 West Main Street, which was the former Parthenon location on West Main. And we have the owners of the Capri Bakery before you, which be happy to speak about what their plans are for that space. It's very exciting. The common victualler license, it went through the interdepartmental review. We're respectfully recommending your approval. The release of the common vic is subject to the building commissioner. Once everything has met on his end in Board of Health, he'll issue a certificate of occupancy, and then you'll get the common vic. But there is no reason, based on the departmental review, that the board should not proceed with approving it. So that's the overview, and through you, Mr. Chair, if there are any questions for the owners here before you.
Yeah, but your bakery's fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are your, is it, you're gonna keep it similar, or is it, you're gonna change it more into a sandwich?
We're going to keep it somewhat similar. We're going to have a big 18-inch pizza, and then we're going to have a bigger 27 by 18-inch pizza. So there'll be a few changes.
Yeah,
Big deli sandwiches, the way we used to get them when we were kids.
I like it.
Corned beef, big corned beef, roast beef, and a lot of stuff, pastas, and just a lot of different varieties. The menu's huge.
That's great.
The menu's huge.
And you're renovating now, or is it?
We are.
Yeah.
We're doing what we can do, and what professionals have to do, they'll be coming in to do. There's actually 2 people there right now as we're here. But yeah, the renovation's already started. We just upgraded the Ansel system quite a bit to a small tank that was there to a pretty big tank. And just a lot of things to bring it a little more modern than what it was. Just about it.
Mr. Chair, through you, so you'll be keeping the bakery?
Oh,
as a bakery,
absolutely.
Yep.
And then this, okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, we had folks ask if you're keeping.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
do say-
Yeah, they ask when they come in
Is
too.
there- And there's no common hallway or anything, right? Do you have
No.
to go
No,
outside?
unfortunately not. We have to walk outside.
Yeah, there's a business in the middle.
In the
Yes, there
middle,
is, yeah.
I told him if he ever decides, that he wants to rent that one out at some point, let us know first. Maybe we'll put something in between, I don't know.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Reading, and none of the department heads, they all, that they were all in favor, so obviously I have no objections.
No, there's nothing on the department heads.
Sorry, do you have anything else? Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the common victualler license for Junction RPD at 60 West Main Street.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations. When do you anticipate opening?
Well, it's going a little slower than we anticipated,
does,
but
yeah.
there's a lot to do. There's a lot of changes being made. There's a fella in there now, besides the 2 I just mentioned, who's going to begin putting new tiles down, so it's
Yeah.
all taking a little longer.
The more we
But that's
clean, the
all
more
right.
we see we have
That's
to clean.
okay.
Yeah, sure.
Rather
Understood.
get it all done right and slow than
Yeah.
worry about after we forgot this, we didn't do this.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get it done, probably maybe 3 weeks.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
3 weeks is kind of reasonable, I think.
All right, well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stop by.
Appreciate that.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks,
Thank you.
appreciate that very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll call you, so,
Thank you, sir. Good luck.
license up and it's just a $50 annual
Yep.
fee. So I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
You guys remember that bakery?
I missed your answer.
Yeah, Carol.
I missed yours.
Thank
Thank you, folks.
Bye.
All right, guys, take care. Congratulations, guys.
That's fine.
We have an application for sewer abatement on 24, how many is it, Gross? Is the, is that you, sir? You want to come up?
Yeah, I got an issue here with my water bill for,
Just state your name for the record.
Ronald T. Hernandez.
Please go on, sir, when you're ready.
The first bill I got here was for $759.18. It's impossible for me to use, for us, my wife and me, to use that much water. I would have to have a battalion going in there and using the toilet 24/7 in order to get that amount. And I don't have a leaky toilet. When I go to the DPU, first thing they tell me, oh, you got a leaky toilet. That's BS. You gotta fall off a banana boat in order to buy that.
Well, it has happened in the past, but, what is your bill typically, sir? It's quarters, right?
My typical bill normally is no more than $121 to $200.
How are we doing those now? Sorry, I'm on the well, so is it quarterly?
Quarterly.
Because it's totally impossible. And my tenant, I checked her toilet. I went to my crawl space and I crawled the four corners of the area. And there ain't no water leak. There ain't no leaking toilet on her side or on my side. I even took the cover up and I sat there watching it for a good hour, and that floater ain't moving. And I have a little weight on that little rubber, the rubber flapper. And I constantly clean that thing with a toothbrush and some detergent to keep the rust away. And it's impossible to have a bill. Now, I have another one that came out to $936.
Mark, I know you reviewed this prior. Do you have anything you want to add, or?
No, it's just, what we do is we look at past usage. We had our meter technician go out and, talk to the homeowner, see if if they did have any leaks. We did put a new meter in. The meter that was in there wasn't that old. It just didn't have it wasn't one of our most modern meters, so we put a new one in. But basically, and then the more recent reads have been consistent with what was prior to this high read. So it's unusual to have a high read and then go back to normal without having some sort of a leak that was fixed. And it does have a rental property. So basically, I don't have any reason to grant an abatement. When we do, we usually have a reason, like we know that there's a visible leak, and in that case, we would do an abatement for the sewer as opposed to water and sewer, because they did use the water. And when we were installing the new meters, we occasionally had a meter that overread the first read, but that was like, hundreds of thousands of gallons over, because it was one digit off. So in this case, we didn't see any reason to grant an abatement, because it was just abnormal for that period. So it was probably some sort of a leak that was either not noticed and fixed itself, or the tenant had a leak and didn't say anything about it.
Is it possible that you have a tenant, sir? So is it possible that let me ask you a question. If a toilet was continuously running, obviously you don't notice it in terms of flooding, but I mean, could that, if that was for a week or two?
It uses a lot of water.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just throwing out scenarios, because I believe you.
My tenant, she's hardly ever home. She's a workaholic kind of.
Well, maybe her toilet was running for a month.
Like I say, I would have to have a battalion taking the leak and flushing it.
We had one person whose toilet, he flushed it before he went away, and it got stuck on. And he went to Florida for a week and came back. And his water bill was pretty high.
Mr. Hernandez, can I see the bill that you're asking to be given us?
So it was 900 was it combined water and sewer?
Right.
I read it earlier in the week.
So this is the norm. This is more of a normal bill, the 121.
Right.
Okay.
And it was some water and sewer. I'm sorry, I couldn't read your writing a moment.
Because the only meter they changed was the one on the outside, the little round gadget. They didn't change the one in the crawl space. That little big meter with the.
So it was 936 was the total? No, it's more than that.
936.30.
That was just water. Was that water sewer?
Okay.
Sorry, I have trouble reading your writing.
561.30 is the sewage amount,
Okay.
and then it's 140, I believe.
What did that just?
The sewage was 121.
So the issue I have, because this is a tough one, because I believe this gentleman that he didn't have a battalion of National Guardsmen in there using the toilet, but something was going on, because, you know, I know Mark's been pretty fair with other residents who have had obvious issues. Like I said, that's why I asked about, could it have been the toilet running at the tenant's house that may have not been.
No, she's constantly nagging me for this or that. Even if the doggone the wash sink has a drip, you know, I go out take care of it right away. Like I say, she's a workaholic, she's hardly ever home. And my wife and I, it's about, like I say, impossible to flush a toilet several thousand times a day. It's impossible to have much.
Oh, my point was, is if your toilet, if it was continuing to run, even though it was flushed, it would.
You can hear it.
Yeah, that would be one plausible explanation.
I even put dye in to check it out.
I also don't want to set precedent here, buddy.
Yeah, that's my concern also. My thought is if we take the 561 and just cut it in half, give some kind of, a little bit of an abatement.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because I think both sides are, you know, obviously correct here. And it was a 1 month anomaly. And meters don't typically go bad, Mark, right? I mean,
They usually are the other way.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
never over-register.
Yeah.
They tend to under-register. But this was a fairly, the existing meter that this was based on was 2015. It wasn't that old of a meter. So we did have these new meters that we can look and see how much water you used every hour. And so I put one of those in, but we didn't have that capability.
Sure.
That was in there.
So what were you proposing, Scott? Because I think we're on the same page here.
My proposal is going to be to reduce the sewage from $561.30 down to just around $280, so it cuts it in half.
And then what, in the sewer, is the sewer, reading his writing, so.
Can I see the bill again?
Yeah, sorry, so I just want to make sure.
Let us reconcile one more time.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the most current one?
This is, that's the sewage.
Okay. And what's the normal,
The normal is,
And Mark, the normal, the one that's marked paid here is pretty consistent though with its usual usage, the 40.
Yeah, there were
121.
some ups and downs.
But nothing $600 ups and downs more.
No,
No.
not within the period that I
Mhm.
I think I reviewed that about 3 years.
I guess the question, I mean, I'm all for giving, because he's pleaded his case, giving him something off, either we do half of that or half of that.
Yeah, I think we should maybe just do half of the total charge or something like that.
Okay. All right.
I think that's fair, because I mean, typically, sir, these cases are pretty obvious. You know, you had I know we had one a few years ago where a pipe broke, I think, in a basement and it flooded and they didn't notice it. So obviously, you knew what was going on. Obviously something happened. Who knows what it is, and I believe you that you didn't have, a million people there, or you had a broken pipe and didn't tell anybody. So, I mean, and I also believe the DPW was on top of it, because I know they've been fair with this in the past, so. Selectman Hood and I are willing to offer an abatement of half of the $759. We'll split the difference.
So how much will I have to pay out of total of that?
So, quick math there, was it $759.18, Scott?
I'm off hours, I can't do math right now.
379, you're dividing it by 2?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it'd be 379.59.
okay.
And the 120, this up here was paid already, that was the current, so that, okay.
Can you jot that down for me that way?
Yeah, so the job-
Oh, yeah, sure, of course.
So 379.59 is half of that. 759.18.
So I'll make a motion to grant a sewer or water sewer abatement for 24 Grosvenor from the bill of $759.18 down to $379.59.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So try to be as fair as we could with that, sir.
But
I said we're just trying to be as fair as we can with that.
okay,
And hopefully you don't have any more spikes.
all right.
I think on our end, it sounds like the water department's got that all covered.
Okay, so you ordered the,
He wrote it right here, so that was the original.
Okay, so
and
that's what you-
And the selectmen have abated it to 379.59. That's what you owe,
okay, I'll go pay that tomorrow then.
okay?
Borrow a pen, please.
I'll take them,
Okay?
All right, sir, thank you. And hopefully,
Thank you, sir. I hope you have to have this power again.
no, I know, I know to come in, we believe you, so,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Oh, you all have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Goodbye.
And obviously, for the record, we don't really like to, obviously this is an unusual case. We don't want
Yeah.
people just showing up in here because
I know,
they,
that's a fine line.
fine line. So,
And rarely do we abate both water and sewer. Usually what happens is there's a leak, so we know it's not going down the toilet. So we
Yeah.
abate the sewer portion, but not the water portion.
Yeah.
But we've had people that come in and say, there's no way I could have used all this, and I send my guy out to look at the meter, and you can see they're doing the whole neighborhood's laundry in their basement.
yeah, if he was higher, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if the toilet was running for a week when his client wasn't there or something like that, but anyway. Hey, Mark.
Thank you. So before we get started, I just wanted to point out that this is National Public Works Week, and the theme this year is It Starts Here. So National Public Works Week, infrastructure starts with public works, growth and innovation starts with public works, mobility starts with public works, security starts with public works, healthy communities start with public works, and the bottom line is that citizens' quality of life starts with public works. So when you see the DPW trucks going around, give them a thumbs up this week.
Is the old fire pickup part of your fleet now? I see it, I don't think it's the fire department. I saw no patches of
Yeah.
the dwelling yesterday.
Yeah,
Confused.
it's a good truck, and so we nabbed it before someone else did.
Yeah, no. We like repurposing.
So the first agenda item, I just wanted to give the selectmen a PFAS update. It seems like it's actually not a lot has changed since the last meeting, but we did do a public notification, and we also put the water ban in place. I would get about at least 2 calls a day.
I've gotten a couple. I know, and I know you probably heard from your neighbors or people. I know just, I've had a couple emails. I think I forwarded to you, Mark, and questions about it. But
And so, do I get the next one? There we go. And we also did a code red call. I don't know if you guys got those at around 6 o'clock.
oh, really? That's why I don't answer my home phone.
So we were getting a lot of questions on the outdoor water ban. People understand that we don't want to put a lot of chemicals in the water and affect their children, but they also want their green lawn. And I basically say, it's hard to do both. It takes in the summer, we're putting about an extra 1 million gallons a day out of the plant to water lawns, and we just don't have the water to do that. We have to keep the higher contaminated sources offline or mixing with the other sources, so we just can't afford to do that. And it's only for this summer, and we do grant variances. If someone puts in a new lawn or new landscaping, we understand they've got an investment there, and we give them a variance that has certain conditions on when they can and can't water, but we need to keep that as minimum.
Can I ask, what about because it's handheld hose usage?
Yeah.
Like washing a car by hand?
Yeah.
Is that allowed? Or
Yes. Yeah, washing cars. I've had people ask about pressure washing. That's fine. Topping off swimming pools. We do want to keep that to the odd even schedule, and also not during the daytime hours.
So it's no outdoor watering between 9 and 5, I think
Right,
was the original ban, so any time before 9,
Yeah.
after 5. Excellent.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people don't realize why it's in. I had
Exactly.
people say to me, "Oh, well, it's been raining. We have ton," and it's like, please pay attention
Yeah.
till the signs went up. You guys did a good job of posting it around town too.
So we're putting in temporary treatment at Grove Pond well number 8, and that is, we're working with the Army Corps on that. So that's coming the week of June the 3rd. It'll probably take about a week to 10 days to get it all piped up and actually filtering and going into the system. But well 8 has been offline for about 1.5 years now. So it'd be nice to get that supply back, and then that will have 0 PFAS in it. So then that'll blend it with the other wells that are fairly low. So we should have pretty low levels coming out of Grove Pond. The bids for the actual treatment plant are due on June 5th. So once we get those, we'll hopefully award it and get going right away. I did reach out to the Army to find out what the status of our agreement is, and I did not hear back from them recently. I think I did a week ago, and they said legal is looking at everything. We continue to test the water wells quarterly. We tested them all today. We also test for PFAS in the distribution system, which is more indicative of what your drinking water is. And at the Pingree tank, it was 17 parts per trillion, and at Washington Street tank, it was 24 parts per trillion. The health advisory that the state has set, and it's not a requirement, it's advisory, is 70. So we're keeping the levels fairly low. We're also testing a point of use filter that we can, if it's successful, we'll offer this to the sensitive population in town. These are pretty simple filters. You just snap it onto your faucet when you want to get filtered water. You flip the lever down when you fill your water bottle or your cooking pot, and you flip it back up and you can use regular water. So these are pretty inexpensive and pretty effective. The state of Minnesota tested these, so I asked the Mass DEP if we could use these, and they hadn't tested for all the constituents that Massachusetts was concerned with, so that's why we're doing the testing ourselves, which is, and the state's actually paying for the water samples.
That was my next question.
So one of the sample, one PFAS sample costs $300, and we're doing 42 samples to test these.
Quick question, when everything leads back to me. Should I get my well tested, being down on the Spec Pond? Probably, no?
I probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm basically on the offer.
And I don't know, it's different because you probably have a deep well, rock well.
I do have a deep well,
Yeah.
and a softener and a filtration system. So
Yeah,
I was just
you're
curious.
probably in pretty good shape, I would think. I think the PFAS is generally in what we call the overburden aquifer, but I know in Harvard some of the rock wells had some contamination in them. So, and I don't know on testing private wells if the state has any program to do that. I would think that they are going to, but that would be through the Board of Health.
Yep, okay. Yeah, I'll look into it. My neighbors have been asking, so I figured it.
And so, as I mentioned, we've gotten a lot of calls and emails. You know, I'm very patient with people. I give them the whole story, soup to nuts. And Mona also is very good at, she's learning quickly all about PFAS and water bans. And Spectacle Pond, Wellfield, PFAS. So the Spec Pond Wellfield provides about 50% of the town's water. We right now have levels of 26 to 34 parts per trillion for the 5 chemicals that the state is considering regulating. They have the advisory right now, as I mentioned, was 70 parts per trillion, but they are working on some different standards, and it looks like they're going to go to 20 parts per trillion for 6 compounds. Right now it's 70 for 5 compounds. They're expecting the MCL to be in place about a year from now. That will, if that is the case, then we would be required to put treatment at Spec Pond. What I'm recommending is we move forward with that process. We'll probably have some time to, even if they come up with an MCL, we'll probably have some time to implement it, but we don't know. Typically with the EPA and the Safe Drinking Water Act, if they come out with an MCL, they have a schedule where they say, okay, everybody has to test their water by this. They have to come up with a plan by this date. They have to have it completed by this date. DEP and I think the general public may not want to have a very long schedule to do that. So what I'm recommending is that we begin the design process. And I'm requesting $250,000 from UDAG funding to begin that. What we are basically hoping we can do is take that treatment plant that we're building at Grove Pond. Grove Pond and Spec Pond have the same capacity, similar water quality, and just plunk that same design down. We'd have to look at building systems like do we have enough electrical power capacity? And that's one of the big things is we have to survey the site, flag the wetlands, go to the Conservation Commission and see if they would allow us. And then based on that, then we can determine what our schedule is and what the cost would be for additional funding at town meeting to build the plant if we need to do that. And I'm assuming we will. We are also working with Mass DEP to identify the source of contamination. They're working out their who's doing what, but they said they would help us do some preliminary investigations of what the land uses were around there. And
a lot of culprits there too. I was thinking about it the other night between the Littleton transfer station, the old Sandville, the railroad, all those transformer yard, all that water that runs into.
And I don't know about any of it. I don't know whether any of the industries there were doing any coatings or anything like that. So we're talking parts per trillion. It doesn't take much to contaminate an area.
Do you
have a sense of what the MCL may be, just based upon like what you've heard? Because I know you put up, I think one of your presentations, you put up a grid that had the various states that have certain levels, and some of them were like single digit parts per trillion.
The DEP, I am guessing because they've set it for their waste site cleanup for groundwater, is 20 parts per trillion for 6 compounds, and that's what they've told me that they're heading towards.
Okay. So on the follow-up question is on the Washington tank, which had 24 parts per trillion. If we have to bring that number down,
the only way we're going to
task is
the only way we're going to bring that down is to we're going to be treating all of Grove Pond, but what happens is we're never really sure what's mixing in the system. So if we're say over 30 coming out of Spec Pond, you might be getting 30 at the Pingree tank, depending on Because, I should look at, I didn't look at what the trend was last time, but it depends on the time of year also. We're putting different amounts of water and they're getting used differently by different people. So I would be surprised if we're not required to put a treatment plant in at Spec Pond. And as a community, we may want to do that anyway. We may want to make sure all of our water is PFAS free.
I think so. It's as you read more and more about it, it's kind of scary. And I feel like we're kind of getting beat up because we're early on this, but I think it will be more widespread.
That was my next question too. It's a good point because, Littleton's wells are right down the other side of the pond. Are they going to do any statewide testing for other communities? I feel
that's going to come out as part of the MCL. They'll have to. Every water system will have to test. And there were some that tested under the Safe Drinking Water Act, unregulated contaminant monitoring rule, which we weren't required to test because we're under 10,000. There were some systems that tested, but the testing limit wasn't as low as 20. So they may have had it, but it may not have shown up because they weren't looking at that level. So as the levels come down, you're going to probably find more sources.
And is the DEP, they want to act quickly on trying to find the source, or is this just something that's kind of on the back burner?
I want to move quickly to find the source. I know you do. I'm
just asking.
And they have agreed to help us do that. If you find a source, then you have the potential of having them cover the costs.
Sure.
So.
Mr. Chairman? With respect to the funding, obviously the $250,000 from the UDAG is a good recommendation and is supported. As asked at town meeting, the current balance in the UDAG account is approximately $2.7 million. That doesn't include the $233,000 that town meeting authorized to replenish. And I know we're asking again, but as the superintendent stated, we do have to move forward on this. So the $250,000, there is the capacity to do that, and we would recommend that. And as the superintendent mentions about determining additional funding at a future town meeting, obviously we generally, as a rule, try to avoid major funding things in the fall. One of the things that the superintendent and the finance manager and I have been talking about is potentially the reauthorization of that Grove Pond authorization of last year, the $4 million that was authorized to do Grove Pond. Obviously, if the Army is going to pay for the majority of that, that is one option. I know that the superintendent and town accountant are looking at some others as well, but I know it's only May and we still have the June special town meeting, but there is a high probability that at the fall town meeting, we're going to have to address the further, funding as we move forward.
Sure. Okay. Well, it makes sense, and it's one of the benefits in there that we do have the UDAG, and we've been very conscious of replenishing it when we can for purposes that come out of the blue sometimes.
What other issue is, so we also, before we had a commitment from the Army, we applied for funding through the State Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund. And that's not a grant, it's a loan, but there's some principal forgiveness and pretty reasonable low interest rates. So we're on the list for Grove Pond. I've sent a letter to the drinking water program requesting that we can change that funding from Grove Pond to Spec Pond Wellfield also, in case we need that money. If they deny that, then we would just reapply this summer for the Spec Pond and get that funding in place, because there is a significant savings on going that route.
Is the delegation involved at all? Would that be helpful?
They were all copied on the letter.
Okay. So.
And I actually have a call into Senator Eldridge's chief of staff on a couple of items.
Okay.
And as, Mr. Chair, as the superintendent stated that last point, he and I met with the regional director not that long ago. And
Mary Jo.
Mayor, Ms.
Yeah.
Pigsley, and stressed, and she agreed, the importance of identifying the source
Yeah.
of contamination. That will then determine our strategy moving forward to responsible parties. But we have stressed the expediting that process.
Yeah. Mark, I know we had approved the capital, the surveying of another well site down in that area, and you said, you know, we started yesterday, it would have been 5 years. Would we have to consider anything different with the PFAS? Or can that
Well,
tie into
we would
the-
have to test for the PFAS, but I'm assuming that if we look at the parcel down there that I'd like to test, then we would tie that in with the spec pond.
So that was my question, we could
Yeah.
tie it in somehow
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
all right, so doesn't rule that out, obviously. That's good. And is there any other help, like with any other contaminant? I mean, we don't really know, I mean, we know what's gonna help with PFAS, but is this overall system gonna help in other areas or other things that may pop up, or? I know it's kind of new,
It depends on what it is, but it does remove a lot of those. It's basically, it's an ion exchange, so it's removing the fluorine compounds and the carbon, and so volatile organics would probably be removed at some point. It depends on what the chemicals are. We looked at some of the other unregulated contaminants that were monitored, and we didn't see any in our water supply, but some of those would also be removed, like a dioxin. And one of the nice things with the resin is right now we're looking at 5 PFAS chemicals. They're looking to increase that to 6, but I've heard as many as 5,000 of these types of compounds. And so all of the ones we tested, this resin was effective for, and I think we looked at 20 different compounds.
Good. You patenting all this stuff too, so you can...
Someone is, not me. But you know, it's kind of exciting because it is all new. You know, there is some testing has been done, but at different chemicals, different levels, and so we're really all learning stuff as we're doing it. And you know, eventually, you know, it'll be easy to say, oh yeah, we have these compounds, you can just plug this in. But right now, we really don't know. So.
So we're requesting 250,000 from you then, correct?
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman,
Yeah.
and just a point of information, so, which would be helpful, that the motion would be to authorize up to 250,000 from UDAG for the PFAS removal for spec pond well field, to be replenished at a future town meeting.
All right, any more questions, Scott?
No.
I will make a motion to authorize taking up to $250,000 for the initial scope of work outlined by the superintendent for the spec pond to address PFAS. With that, we will replenish at a future town meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, reserve fund transfer for water enterprise fund. Speaking of water, so what I usually do in March and April is I start looking at my budget and projecting out where I'm going to end at the end of the year, and looking at the water fund. It looked like I was going to have about a $10,000 deficit, and then the pump motor at Spec Pond Well 2A seized up for $23,000. So we do have a line item in the budget that we can authorize that's a $30,000 operating reserve, and so based on my projections through the end of the year, and with the $23,000 for the well 2A pump motor replacement, I'm requesting a reserve fund transfer of $30,000 to cover the unanticipated operating expenses. Usually on the water, we're under budget, and that's why I was surprised. But as you can see, we've had a lot of unexpected expenses, and some of those are related to just the operational changes we've had to make for the PFAS. Like for instance, we cleaned and redeveloped Grove Pond well number 6 last July, and we're doing it again now. It's just not pumping to capacity. We need to keep that running at its maximum rate, because that's one of our better or lower PFAS wells.
But was that the one that was shut down initially, or is it?
No, 8 was shut down.
No, the one that was older that you kind of had to re...
That's well number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the reserve fund transfer in $30,000 for account number 62458 Water Enterprise.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
And so we have a form of signature, and then I will be going to the Finance Committee to get their approval. And the item that Robert added to the agenda, and I don't remember where we had a number of options. Sure. I'm not sure which one we ended up with.
Sure, so Mr. Chairman, as the board will recall, on May 7th, the board approved the lease and easement agreement for the Ayer East Solar LLC.
Yes.
And when that was sent to Ayer East Solar's legal department, they wanted to use a different form, doesn't change anything substantive, and they wanted one of two things, they needed either all three selectmen's signatures. On May 7th, if the board will recall, it was for signature by the chair, as we were told to do. In light of the fact that Selectman Livingston unfortunately is ill this evening, and we can't get all three signatures, and this needs to be overnighted, I'm recommending that the board authorize the town manager to sign this memo for the lease. Selectman Hood has the motion that they asked for. With that motion, I would sign the lease authorized by you, and the town clerk has the certification for that vote. Again, it's a procedural thing to satisfy their legal requirements.
It has to do with when they file their the deed or whatever it is. There's some filing that it has to be done a certain way.
Okay.
And things go south, we can just blame Robert.
Exactly. Our signatures won't go on it. I move that the Board of Selectmen execute the memorandum of lease in connection with and arising out of the lease of town property to Ayer East Solar LLC, and further that the Ayer Town Manager Robert A. Pontrian be authorized to sign said documents on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
And it's not 2012, Robert, we would never do that to you. This board.
Mark, do you want me, I can notarize Robert's signature now and you can overnight it? Do you want me to do that in the morning? Because I have the certified vote too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We did two, one with Scott making the
Yeah.
motion, one with Chris.
I can go and,
Scott made the motion, so there we go. So I'll just go get my
I
stamp.
was given the motion, don't
Yeah, I didn't know anything about the motion, so, I mean, I knew it was on there, but I didn't know.
And then you can,
well, this was going up until about,
Yeah.
what, 10 of 6?
She was on the phone again at 6:30.
10 to 6 is usually when, or 10 past 6 is usually when I'm pulling in my house on two wheels to try to get cleaned up to head here.
One thing, Mark, real quick.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, just while Ms. Antonellis is getting that, if there is an objection, if the superintendent could real quick, maybe an update about what's planned for the Rotary.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten a lot of
And
inquiries.
I
And I know you had a
think
meeting.
they're starting in early June, but, so the state, MassDOT wanted to come up with some stormwater management scenarios in different parts of our District 6. So Carlton Circle was identified as an area where they could do some stormwater management, stormwater treatment, instead of having pipes that go right into the brook. So what if you probably have seen those stakes out there on the rotary, what they're gonna be doing is putting in a stormwater management pond there. So the drainage from that whole rotary and Littleton Road will flow into a forebay where sediments will settle out, then over the forebay, and then there'll be a pipe and outlet structure that go down to the brook. So
There's going to be a pond in the middle of it. So
yes, and it's going to be, and it's not as big as those.
You're not taking any of those.
So they're not taking the big tree out. That one big tree, they're not.
What about the nice ones in the middle? Those going?
Yeah, some of them are, but then they're going to replant. So they have a whole landscape.
Plant 50 trees.
Isn't
Are
it?
they gonna be the
It's a
size of
lot,
this water
yeah.
bottle though when they put them in?
It's all varied,
Yeah.
there's 3 different sizes,
Yeah.
small, medium, large.
Well, the most
So they-
important thing is, can we put Christmas lights on them?
We could put holiday lights.
Yeah.
We need some more donations with 54
Yeah,
trees.
I don't know how many, I don't think there's a lot of those trees on the east side that are.
No, it's more on the back
It's more
side,
on the
right?
backside, and yeah, I don't think there was that many of the lighted trees that are
Are
going.
they, are they gonna provide, do you have any drawings or anything like that?
I do.
'Cause
Yeah, I could
just
put, I can,
post or something.
yeah, I can put, have Cindy post something on the
That'd be
website.
great.
Yeah.
And, because I do have the landscape plan, I don't have one that's colored up, but,
I think Joanne has that. The
Oh, she
colored
does?
one. Yeah,
okay, because I haven't seen that.
yeah, I think she does.
Yeah, so I don't know, oh, so they may have gone to the
I think they went to
Conscom for a-
conservation, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And that's in
I can
June.
work with Joanne on that tomorrow.
All right. And so that'll be in June. We don't see a lot of, one of my concerns was traffic management. And pretty much they're gonna keep everything on the rotary. They're gonna have to do a lot of loaming and seeding and things once they get it all done. But it's pretty much, all the staging and work is gonna be right on the rotary, and they'll have a police officer out there for assisting with traffic management.
Can we convince them to upgrade the electrical and put in a sprinkler system out there too, or that we can't use? But-
I tried.
Yeah, I know you did, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But maybe the electrical. All right,
Great.
great.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
I just realized this picture of the master plan, which is so cool. That's before we did all the cleanup.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Big trees, you see it in the rotary? Can you imagine? Yeah, that's gonna be 5 years old. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Manoyan, but I just wanted to introduce the topic. The master plan implementation process is alive and well, and at my request, Alan and his department have been leading a series of interactive sessions on the various topics in the implementation plan. And I'm pleased to report that this evening, Alan is going to give a presentation on the implementation plan and the progress we are making. And then moving forward, per the Board of Selectmen, on a quarterly basis, Alan will be coming back, and myself, with further updates. And he's going to talk about the matrix he's designed so we can track this. And I am pleased with the progress we are making. As many of you know, as the board knows, and Alan talked about this, we've had master plans going all the way back to 1964 in the recent time, and the challenge has been on the implementation. I'm pleased to report we're making progress, and so I'm going to turn it over to Alan to give the board an overview of our implementation status and next steps.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank all of you. For the record, Alan Manoyan, Director of the Office of Community and Economic Development. And through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, the Town of Ayer's most recent master plan was completed actually a year ago. It was a year ago, right at this time, when all was kind of said and done. And it's a very good product we came out with. It was a great collaborative process. But as Robert said, the issue for not just our town, but many towns and cities, we do our master plans, we work together for 2 years, we pay consultants a good deal of money, we get the product, and often everyone goes back to their offices, okay, into their silos. We have the master plan, and you know, you get into the throes of what what comes at you every day. And it's great to say, gee, I'd really love to plan to start carrying out on some of the long-term things of this, and sort of, it gets away from you. And we all, this is quite common. So this year, the Office of the Town Manager, they really, charge us saying, this cannot sit on a shelf this time, as our others have in past years. So this was a great challenge for all of us here, myself and my colleagues. So I just started thinking right off the bat, how can we just start getting people together and raising our own awareness that, guys, this has to be a part of your everyday life in your office. Don't put it on a shelf. So, as Robert and I often say, how do we get everyone together in a consistent way to going? And of course, the answer is often food. Everyone lighten up. Okay.
Exactly.
So we decided we had our innovative hour, twice a month we would do our departmental roundtable luncheon series on the master plan. So we would take a chapter each time, the department that was sort of, the most responsible party for that chapter had come in. We all sat together as our departments. We had some good luncheon, and that person did a full presentation on, let's say, the land use chapter, the housing chapter. So we've done a series of these. There are a couple left. Economic development, because we say we take care of others first, and then we'll take care of, we'll do our stuff. So this, actually, we're doing economic development next, and we're going to finish up with municipal facilities and services. The process was quite successful because everyone participated, we were all there, and everyone really, responded that, wow, we've never done anything quite like that. I've never done anything quite like this, innovating this way. So the first step proved successful in just keeping us together, raising our consciousness and understanding. This is just the beginning, guys. What we need to do as a next step, and by the way, what we're going to do as per the Office of the Town Manager, we are going to submit quarterly status reports. Who has met their objectives or is meeting their objectives? Who has perhaps met their goals on some of this? And we want to provide the Board of Selectmen on a quarterly basis with a report. This is a tricky thing actually to do a report on, because what is involved in this is complex, highly intricate, and understand as well, folks, just some perspective. This is an 8 to 10 year document, because we have 8 to 10 years to carry through on a lot of these things. We're already chomping at the bit. We'd like to get a lot of it done in, 2 or 3 years. So Robert has really motivated us to, we don't have to wait to 10 years to be sitting here again to get it done. What we have done, I did submit a quarterly report. I believe that you folks did get this in your packets. For the first one dated May of 2019. And just the formatting was a bit of a challenge for me. So how do I, format and present this in a way that you all can take in a realistic and manageable fashion? If we threw everything that was in these documents at you, our eyes would all glaze over. So what we focused on for this first report submission are the high priority goals and objectives. Because in our master plan, we have a gradient. High priority, medium, low, and ongoing. Of course, we need to address the high priorities first. So what we laid out here, and I found a kind of a funky graphic tool to show the relationships, because I think it is important for you folks to understand the layers of relationships between the departments. So, yeah, I didn't put it, I didn't do it that way thinking we'd, go off of this. So you see we've broken it out on the chapters, and we did the cool, I like actually Robert's term, I think he called it the onion peel, the onion layers here. And getting down, we laid out in a matrix for each of them. High priority, what action has actually been taken thus far? And I think, I think we should all be pleased in the town that if you go through the various chapters in the departments have all been working away. And a number of these things are well underway. Some things have actually are quite down the road in terms of meeting the objective and goals. I don't know if you want me to read through all this for you right now. I don't believe so, right?
No.
Okay.
We're good.
All right, that's good. Consensus on that. But again, go through it. I hope that it's clear and user-friendly for you to take in. On the page 8, we actually did lay out a schedule so you can see the actual lunch and roundtable sessions that have been conducted with the dates.
You know that was food, Scott?
I did
No,
not.
I didn't either.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, I did that.
That's right. And we do that, by the way, we do a different local eatery. We
Where
want
was this
that.
one? Where was that one? With the year at the front?
That
Oh,
was-
that's different. That was a
That
Devon's.
was a meeting at,
Oh, all right, I was gonna say, wow, I
Devon's.
haven't seen that meeting room in town.
Yeah, that's a next phase. And actually glad you went to that. If you go to page 9, because the point is, all right, we've, whoop.
I think we're allowed food in here. Just an observation.
Yeah, it's a little light from you.
So we've had successful with our the lunch and round, but that's just a start to get everyone, if you will, into the vibe, into the groove together. We do this all together. The next phase is going to be what we call our synthesis sessions. Meaning, up to now, we've just had the individuals presenting, well, this is what we're doing all. Now we're going to start grouping together. Take land use. We now know that land use, that transportation has everything to do with land use, which was not always the case historically. So we're going to bring together then planning office with public works, with maybe, housing, and bring them together as a synthesis, saying, now the three of you present and how these integrate your departments and these goals and objectives. So we're going to start showing how this all weaves together, and we're just going to continue. The psychology of all this, what it simply does, folks, is reinforce week after week. We live to implement this. We keep driving and driving together to implement and implement. So we're just going to continue this process on a monthly basis. We have to make it interesting, or else people get bored and they turn off and they say, I really can't be there, Alan, I have other commitments. And we say, no, we got to stay true to this and stay committed to it. So I feel confident that the next quarterly report, we're going to report you on the synthesis sessions. We will show even more advancement with the high priority goals and objectives. And then I'd like to start doing just a report on the ongoing efforts. The ongoing stuff seems like all the mundane, everyday stuff, but it's really those ongoing objectives and goals that are the really foundation of the master plan. So we feel confident about it all, and I think what we're doing is innovative. I don't know of any other community that's doing this way. And normally what a lot of communities do, they will actually set up master plan implementation committees, formal structured committees.
Oh, we had that right at the beginning, or was that just a...
that was the
That was-
previous
Yeah, that was-
plan,
yeah.
but the problem was there were changes before I came, there were big
Yeah.
changes in the administration, and it didn't, as I told this board from the outset, that the administration would be committed to the implementation of this plan.
Yes. that sounds
And
good.
if I could just add real quick, so as we move forward, if you, please give us our feedback, give us your feedback about the matrix and the tracking. I know that we're going to have a checklist as well. It was one thing that Selectman Livingston had asked about, that where we can, check off, actually visually show, and Alan has had that developed. And we will be doing quarterly reports, as I said. He focused on the high priority at my request for this. Also, one of the things, the synthesis section is next, but also discussions we have started to have, which we will come back to the board in a future report. As you will see in the implementation plan, some of these recommendations require considerable resources, specifically financial resources. And for example, a lot of stormwater things, and we've sort of started that discussion again as to how are we going to fund
I was reading that.
stormwater.
Is
We
that-
have an enterprise fund, but we have no funding mechanism for said
I guess
enterprise.
my question is it time to bring back the funding mechanism that was proposed?
I think so.
I
Yeah, so,
was in favor of it back then, but obviously other members weren't, which was
right.
great there.
So we will, at a future report, or we'll start to begin coming back also with discussions about potential costs for some of these things, because some of them are going to require creativity and a longer-term funding strategy, which I think we have a great track record with, but I think we need to have that discussion. So I know in the interest of time, I was very pleased with Alan's format that he's put forward on the tracking system, and we'll
I like it.
continue those sessions and the synthesis session. And I am very grateful for our overall team, Alan, Mark, Carly, the other department heads who have really worked on this as we move forward. We are committed to this implementation plan.
And if I could add, Mr. Manager, you know, I've just sort of keyed in on the municipal staff, those of us who are here. The other major part is who, with the synthesis sessions, we need to now integrate the members of our municipal boards and commissions. What Rob was just pointing to, Finance Committee needs to be very involved in this master plan now. All our boards and commissions, Planning Board, Zoning Board, it's all, so I guess we'll feed them too, perhaps, but but we need to start drawing them because they are crucially important, as are the municipal staff. They're the ones that actually start setting policy, and as Robert said, the actual ways and means of delivering these goals. So we need to next start integrating the members of our boards and commissions. And I know that's difficult because a lot of those folks work during day and else are out of town, so we have to find, you know, the right times and start bringing them together to work directly
Well,
with
what
municipal
if we did
staff.
something in the evening where
Yeah.
we got all the boards together and just had a round table? I know it's hard, but I mean,
Yeah.
what's that?
We did, and no one showed up. Like, it was last, right?
2 years ago.
That was last year. Oh.
But let's try it again
Yeah.
Let's try it again.
with
Yeah.
food. No.
Yeah.
Actually, I did food lesson, but
Well, I think if you put it in the context that it's an integral part to,
yes.
you know, to working through the implementation, maybe you'll get more people. I mean, if you
Yes.
just set a meeting and say, hey, we're gonna discuss the master plan implementation,
Right.
they may not realize that their
Yeah.
board or committee
Yes.
is an integral part of that. So I think communication is the key to
Yes.
stress the gravity of the situation.
I think it's interesting, Chris, what you said of doing sort of a summit, you know, of the
Yeah.
boards and integrating.
Well, I just think it's easier to understand,
Yeah.
let's say the planning board disagrees with our vision or the,
Yes.
you know, zoning board of appeals or whatever. You know, it's nice to kind of get it out there instead of going through, you know, various people and hearing it and
And if you,
discussion.
when you take this in, you'll notice there are a lot of BOS
Yeah.
references to responsibilities. So
Yeah.
you all have work to do as well.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So
You know, I like extra meetings.
So, but very good. It's great, and I think it's a really innovative process. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if other communities sort of look what we're doing and say, hey, we should do that too that way. So,
And we
Good
will be
stuff.
putting these reports and this so forth on, you know, the town's website and so forth, so that also the public that ultimately funded the master plan can see, you know, that progress is being made.
Great.
there it is.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, 4th of July. Okay. The Ayer's 4th of July event, important to thousands and thousands and thousands, as I really appreciated last year, of families and people, not only in Ayer, but regionally. So this year, the Ayer Office of Economic and Community has once again taken on the duty of organizing, facilitating, and conducting this event this year. It's cool stuff, and I'll just say, it's come together beautifully. Our sponsors are always there for us, the corporate sponsors always, and they have responded. I have almost all our sponsorship in. Of course, a town meeting is always fantastic that they vote in, $10,000. So in terms of our funding, we're in excellent shape. We run the event very well. And the whole thing is coming together nicely, as it does every year. One very important point this year, though, and one very important change that everyone's going to eventually start, I think, where it's out there, but I don't know the people it's registering with them. As per the Ayer Police Department and Ayer Fire Department, the parade, our downtown Main Street parade, in past years it has started at 2 p.m. This year, as per the Police and Fire Department, the parade will be starting at 4 p.m.
On what day, Alan?
I'm sorry, thank you, yes, Robert. This is happening on Saturday, July the 6th. So this is important for everyone just to know out there in Key, and the parade's going to start at 4 p.m. Why we're doing this is the event started earlier in Peroni Park. There's sort of a big lag time in between there, and you got to sort of have police covering all this. It's just the cost, it's just, it doesn't, so we're just trying to concentrate the experience, if you will, and then make it more manageable out there, Peroni Park, because I'll tell you folks, last year, this thing is drawing huge numbers of people. We do stuff, people really dig it.
And there's no
it's,
shade down there, so I think
oofa.
it's 2 o'clock in the
No
afternoon.
shade. And just, you know, the other thing, Peroni Park, I mean, we have one of the most glorious locations to do this, and everything, but to get in and out of that neighborhood, Peroni Park, there's kind of like one way in and one way, and it can, so, and God forbid, as we know, the times we're living in, and we've been very lucky, there've never been, no, you know, any incidents, but the police, again, are concerned. So anyway, we're gonna concentrate things, good. A couple other changes we're gonna make, the event in, you know, past years, the thing, you know, it got a little kind of, it's going on a kind of a vibe, being a little, I can say this, I grew up in back Central Lowell, you know, going to the old carnival midways at the South Common and stuff. The event was taking on a little bit of a flavor of kind of a midway carnival. You know, and we'd like to kind of bring this back to more of a traditional hometown New England experience. So we're throttling back on some of the big vendor rigs that were sort of coming in here from, you know, Somerville and Rhode Island. And it's like, guys, we want to get more of our local organizations and clubs. If money's going to be made by some food, we'd like to see our local organizations and clubs making that, rather than, they're great guys and all, but, you know, some guy from Somerville. Yeah. Nothing against Somerville. I have lots of good friends. So we're sort of throttling back a little bit on those folks, and we're going more with local stuff. So that's going down there. Also, we're introducing a couple of new things. Have you guys heard about Chris? When was the last time you hula hooped?
Never.
Ever? Never.
I'm pretty athletic. I could do any sport. I could never do a hula hoop to save my life. So
we're going to introduce a mass hula hoop contest. If you ever seen 200 people hula hooping at once, I have. I did it in Nashua years ago. So we're doing this, and some young person is going to be crowned Ayer's greatest hula hooper summer tournament. But guys, we're trying to do new things and excited to get people sort of turned on. The whole thing has gotten a little kind of flat. Okay, Mike. So we're just trying to do creative stuff like that. We're going to have a pie eating contest. Come on, Chris, you must have once just thrown your face into a blueberry pie.
No, but I consider it if it was apple, not blueberry.
This type of, so you're going to see more of this. The other cool thing this year, we used to spend huge money on bringing a guy to rent a sound system, a PA, and stage. We have now acquired our own PA system from this, which is going to be so useful in countless ways for the Memorial Day Parade, for the candlelights, all this stuff. So that's good. And we have a bigger stage. So all that's it. Just one quick thing for parade is Carly gave me one of her classic looks like, what, Alan, what now, as I just set this on the table.
I think that's
rightfully
your usual
so.
look towards you.
Well, it is. That was an exceptionally, you're like, why, Alan? Okay.
What do you have there?
Yes.
One thing that I want the parade. We have an awesome, little Main Street parade. But again, getting a little predictable and flat. Armistice Day, 1918 in this town. We had a great Armistice Day, one of the greatest spectacles of it. And what they did back then, that was unique. In the great parades, they would have what they called the great flags. Great American flag, massive flags. And they'd have like 30 people horizontally carrying the flag of the parade. This has not been seen in this town since 1918. I have the original articles in it, so I thought, hey man, wouldn't it be cool? It's we missed the 100th anniversary, the 101st, and I said, we're going to do this. I know of no other town is doing it. So what I have sitting on this table, I'm sorry, I had to bring a prop. We have acquired a massive American flag right here. This flag is 20 feet wide by 38 feet long. 38 feet is basically a 4-story building. Almost, okay. Wow. 20 feet picture, our lanes out there are 12 feet wide. Just the width of this is pretty much the width of both lanes of our main street. This is a big mess, and we are out now looking for, and that's why I did this here tonight. So if we're on thing, folks, people of Ayer, wherever the cameras are, we are looking for 22 patriotic Ayer residents to carry the great flag in the parade. I guarantee you this will be a historic photograph. This photograph, whoever's carrying this day, will be one of the photographs that'll be in the history book of saying, wow, look at that. People will say, my son was there. He was one of those that carried the flag the first year. Tut stuff. The flag will be there, and it's going to become a tradition every year. The great flag will come out in air. But this is going to be the first year. It's going to be a spectacle.
How about 8 of our Eagle Scouts? Yeah, suggestion?
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
They don't see your itis at this point.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
Okay. And we're doing a couple other things. So
Good.
we're trying to be creative as always in Office of Community and Economic and do things that get people really excited and turned on about the community.
Who is, if you don't mind me asking, who's on the committee now?
There is no 4th of
There's
July
no 4th,
committee.
there's no
No,
committee
and that's as per my request.
Yeah, no, I'm
And I
okay
said if
with
we're
that.
doing this, but we have a good event group.
Okay.
Ruth is there always, Ruth is every week. Rich, a few folks, so they're helping, but there's no formal committee.
Okay.
I'm running it out of my office so we can go, boom, get it done. We'll go. Okay, so that's great stuff. And then finally, Clean Air, the Clean Air Litter Removal Program. And this is, thank you very much, Selectman Hillman. You, as I always say, you motivate us. You motivate us.
Or annoy you. Good trade I have.
It's that fine line. I think I did that one.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think everybody has.
Pointed, I call it pointed motivation. So we've gone forward with this. We have, we're not doing the volunteer thing because it's too dangerous out in those roadways just to have folks out there. Okay. We'd like to do a pilot program on Westford Road. So we have engaged with the company known as Litter Removal Service of America, nationwide company. As it so happens, they have contracts and do litter removal right here on Route 2 at 495. So they're here in the area often. I made contact with them. We have a good estimate of cost for them. We have a contractual agreement that I've reviewed. We're going to make sure it goes, see if we go forward, fine. And where we're at then is, we want to launch this Westford Road program. The cost for a sponsor, and this includes the litter cleanup service, is $550, which is a great price. That actually surprised me. It's because they're so close in proximity where they're working anyway here. But with that, we need to have a police detail for the safety of even those workers, although they don't require it. And we don't require that, Mr. Mayor. I said, well, locally,
That's a tough road.
our chief of police, and we really please. Okay, and then the beautiful signs, if you notice, like when we did the beautiful planting islands out on the Rotary, we did one of the Commonwealth's adopt a visibility spots, some beautifully done. We're going to use that same prototype sign, okay, but this is going to say Clean Air Program, new title of the program, and on that we will have the company incorporated that is the sponsor for that program. Now, I'll tell you, I've been speaking with a few companies and firms, and today I was with Scott Park, who's the Chief Operating Officer at Nasoya. And Nasoya, they are exceedingly interested in being in this pilot program on Westford Road, which for a whole variety of reasons, it makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a good fit, actually. Yeah. And they very much, they said, we'd like to do this because we really would like to, again, do something for the community, show how much we appreciate being here in the community, and also, it looks like we are going to, go forward and make this happen. I'd like to, though, immediately jump on launching a second pilot. We really need this program right at the Ayer Littleton town line on Route 2A. It is just one of the really, and I went out there myself politically, and I can't even describe. Robert was out there as well in Carly online, and it is like, wow.
The state came in and cleaned up all of the Littleton side, and apparently stopped.
Chris, you know what? I noticed that today driving in, because I drove in, and I looked and I went, wow, it's a map. Who did the town do this?
Yep, no, they had the yellow bags out there, and they seem to have...
Interesting.
Yeah, but that is a prime spot.
I couldn't agree
Oh my
more.
goodness, it's unbelievable. It's so, we'd like to immediately maybe jump in, and I'll leave it at this. I have another end that has expressed very strong in saying, I'd be very interested in, in doing that right at the town line. So we're ready to launch these off, and I'm going to probably, I just want to get some good estimates, although ISS did the signs there in Shirley for the Rotary. They did a great job, and frankly, they have the prototype and design, and if the cost is right, I'm ready to go forward with them. And we'd like to have this the Westford Road program up, and even frankly the Littleton one, we can do it, and I see no reason why we couldn't make this happen by the end of June. And get it going to the summer, get it all cleaned up, go through the summer, and then have a second nice cleanup in the fall. And great. And I think if we launch this right, I think a number of companies will see and say, we'd be very, in doing that, we'd love to see our name recognized out in other quarters, and why not try to get all the quarters in the town? We do it up, a town-wide program. And then maybe Carly won't have to organize the municipal team, which she does so well every year, and we won't have to go out and pick up litter maybe next spring. Who knows? We probably will.
It's so remarkable, the difference after you guys, even just with the one in April, just the difference the roads were done, it just stands out at you immediately.
Yeah, and there's a psychology to it when you don't see that it's been picked up. Believe it or not, they're less prone to litter because it's sort of like, oh, am I going to be the first one to mess it up? No, they will. But it's how you change a culture. And ultimately, guys, all this is fine. We're chasing the litter, but then the next step in this program, frankly, is doing an education outreach program and starting to change, like, guys, why are we throwing this stuff out of our cars? Why is this stuff flying out of the beds of your pickup trucks? Anyway, then you start changing the culture, saying, guys, you know, we shouldn't be out here picking up litter. Why are we doing this to ourselves? So it's all really good stuff, and we're ready to launch these. Yeah.
No, it's great. I like the follow-up one too, and obviously you do it once. And I would assume that once the programs, you might do it earlier next year, once it's implemented.
Oh yeah, once it's set up, we should really, get, that's right in the springtime when the snow melts and everything, there it is, it all emerges, like, oh my goodness, that's when you see it. So, yes.
That's great.
Excellent.
All right.
All right, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay.
Robert? Oh, Mark, I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Chairman, I've asked, as the board is aware, there is a special town meeting on June 10th. 2 articles, which we'll talk about in a moment about the approval of the warrant. Article 1 will be the proposed marijuana zoning bylaw, and the second, of course, is the form-based code. So I've asked the town planner to briefly provide just a briefing to the Board of Selectmen on the zoning bylaw and the efforts of the working group, so that everybody, we have any last-minute questions, but we have a mutual understanding of Article 1 moving into June 10th. So with that, I will turn it over to Mark, who will give a brief presentation on that.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Mr. Hellman, Mr. Hood, Robert and Carly. What I'd like to do is just give a brief overview, sort of a condensed version of the presentation I will be giving at the town meeting on June 10th. This presentation was also given at the public hearings that we held in April. First, I'll just go over the process of developing the bylaw real quickly. The first step was a lot of research. I won't go into that, but I looked at a model bylaw prepared by the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and actual zoning bylaws adopted by several towns, including Littleton, which had a really good bylaw to use as a model. The second key step was to form a bylaw working group, which was composed of the police chief, the police detective, the fire chief, town manager, assistant town manager, economic development director, park and rec director, DPW superintendent, building commissioner, the district health inspector, and a planning board representative. And we met, I think, about 6 times to fine-tune the bylaw from the early draft until we had a finished product to bring to the planning board. And the bylaw was prepared early in March, and we sent it to town council. I held a public information session here in this room on March 20th, and we received comments back from town council by March 29th that we incorporated into the final drafts. Planning board held a public hearing on April 9th, which was continued to April 23rd, at which point they issued a positive recommendation to the June 10th special town meeting. And that basically is the process. There were a few very minor sort of typo corrections that was made by KP in early May, which the planning board ratified on May 7th. So that is part of the bylaw package that will be going to the town meeting. So what the bylaw does and does not do is very important, and I want to emphasize this. The bylaw will not be allowing any more retail establishments similar to Gage Cannabis. There will be no additional retail establishments over the one that we allowed per town meeting vote in October of 2017. And that was done deliberately to have a more conservative approach and to see how this first one, operates and how it, fits into the town.
It opens. Right.
If it opens, right? So the bylaw that we're mostly concerned with here, the bylaw that will be voted on June 10th, is mostly concerned with cultivation, product manufacturing, testing, research, and transportation, which are the non-retail grouping of marijuana enterprises. And that all of those are grouped into one category for purposes of zoning. And the group decided that the best location for these are in the general business, industrial, and light industrial zoning districts. One important point to make is that if a town that voted yes in November of 2016 does not specifically zone for these types of operations, they are considered allowed by the state in the zoning district that most closely matches the type of operation. So cultivation might go into an industrial zone. Retail could possibly go into any commercial business district. So by adopting a zoning bylaw to regulate this type of business, we have more power and more discretion about where and how these businesses will operate. One point that actually we had a working meeting with one of the lawyers from KP Law, who's an expert on this, and she recommended that in order to, no pun intended, weed out the weak applicants, so to speak, that we would first require...
That used to be our job.
Yeah.
When we first came through, we had some duties that came in here.
Yeah. The first step is actually the host community agreement, which any business, whether it be retail, as Gage Cannabis did, or any of the other types of businesses, need to obtain a host community agreement from the Board of Selectmen as a first step. After that, they start the long process of going through the Cannabis Control Commission's approval process, which, as we've seen, can take months, perhaps years. And about halfway through that process is something called a provisional license or a provisional certificate of registration. And so by requiring that as part of the planning board submittal package, we've sort of made sure that we are only dealing with serious applicants and not people who are just trying to get rich quick, thinking that this is the latest fad and, we're just going to, grow a few plants in a dumpster and, have at it, So by requiring this provisional license, we will, make sure that the applicants are pre-screened, and they will have to go through the onerous process of the Cannabis Control Commission review process before they come to the planning board in this town. So major issues that were considered in drafting the bylaw. First of all, every bylaw has some sort of buffer or separation between the marijuana enterprise, which is what ME stands for, and preschools, schools, public parks, and residential zoning districts. And we discussed various buffers. Some towns have less of a buffer and some towns have more of a buffer. But it was actually the consensus of the group, including the police department, that a 200-foot buffer would be adequate for the town of Ayer, partly because our zoning districts are, in some cases, relatively small and constrained. We have a very thin town. And for instance, as an example of that, we have this area here, which is the industrial district off of Westward Road. This side of the road is residentially zoned, and this side is industrial. if somebody were to propose a business in this building, this is just hypothetical. I have no idea what actually is in this building, but this building would not qualify because they're only 165 feet from the boundary of the residential zoning district. Whereas this building, which is 345 feet approximately, would qualify. So that ensures that people driving by, A, would not see the business right away necessarily, and, you know, there's sort of a separation there, which will...
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just
Yes.
add, because it was great debate about the buffer, and Mark is correct that the police department is on board with this. As you'll recall, the bylaw has to be approved by the Attorney General, and as we learned with the sex offender residency bylaw, the bylaw, we can't completely restrict these enterprises completely out of the town. So taking that into account, a lot of work was done that
Reasonable.
the 200-foot exactly we felt was reasonable, but also gave the bylaw viability to pass the state.
Yep, thank you, Robert. And all marijuana enterprises except medical dispensaries will require a special permit from the planning board, and we will develop special permit criteria for these types of businesses that are in addition to what we have for other businesses. And all enterprises also require site plan approval. Special permit differs in that it's totally discretionary. The planning board has much greater ability to deny a special permit that does not meet the specific criteria, whereas a site plan, if they meet the basic criteria, it's sort of almost like getting a building permit. You know, you go down the checklist. If you meet everything, you have the landscaping, you have the parking, the traffic study. You know, basically the planning board needs to approve the site plan. We can negotiate to come up with a better outcome, but the special permit gives the planning board a lot more discretion. So that's why we do that process. Another important point is that commercial outdoor cultivation is prohibited. In some towns in rural Massachusetts, they allow cultivation in greenhouses, but we do not. And also large fields. There are even some, you know, towns west of the Connecticut River that have large agricultural fields that might be suitable for this, but certainly not Ayer. We do not have either the land or
The Rotary.
the large fields, right, yeah, right. So some of the benefits of having a bylaw of this type, first of all, regulatory, by giving the town through the planning board a much greater degree of control over the where, how, and when these will be operated. Any special permit requires a public hearing with abutter notification, so the abutters would be notified if they're within 300 feet. And for some reason it's not. Here we go. And also economically through increased and more efficient use of land in buildings, industrial, and general business districts. I obtained a report from the assessor department that shows about 65 acres of vacant industrial land and about 34 acres of vacant general business land in town that may be suitable for this. Some of the industrial land is actually along the railroad track, so that wouldn't be suitable. So the actual total that's available for development could be less than that, but that's a rough approximation. These businesses could potentially increase Ayer's commercial and industrial tax base, which will generate additional tax revenue. And also, they will generate new jobs, many relatively high-paying in the growing, and it's a very labor-intensive industry, the cannabis industry. Alan and I actually toured a cultivation facility in Littleton, and we were, first of all, surprised that you could not smell a thing or even recognize what type of business it was by looking at it. So until you walked in, you knew what it was.
Taylor Street? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And the other thing that impressed us was, in addition to the way everything was scientifically controlled and everything is measured to the gram or whatever, is the amount of people that work in these industries. It's very labor intensive. There are people from the high-end botanists and geneticists who are doing, the experimentation and the cultivation, to the people that do the trimming of the plants and all that. So you have a range of jobs that would be very high-paying, to modest level jobs. But it's a labor-intensive industry, and by having a few of these in town, we could increase our employment base. There are also potential benefits to the town by having provisions in the host community agreements to offset any cost due to increased policing or fire safety inspections, public health inspections. These types of businesses are heavily regulated, and you may recall that the retail operation in not Salem, but was it Salem? I think it was closed down by the Cannabis Control Commission temporarily because they weren't following the proper tracking of all the products. So not only the state, but the town has the ability to do inspections, certainly through the Board of Health and our health agent. This is the table of uses for the zoning bylaw. A1, A2, and GR are all residential, general residence, and you see that there's a blanket prohibition of any of these types of businesses in any residential district. Downtown business, which hopefully will become the form-based code district after June 10th, also is an outright prohibition. And that was a point that was strongly expressed at the October 2017 town meeting, is that we do not want these types of businesses in our downtown. And so we were keeping with that. The mixed-use, the transitional district is essentially Central Ave. That's also a prohibition. With the 200-foot buffer, it would be impossible to site new businesses there anyhow because of the residences that are very close by. So we're left with the general business, light industrial, and industrial districts as to where these could be located. We probably won't see any new solely medical facilities, but we needed to address those because it is a type of business. So we have those as needing a site plan approval. Everything else would require a special permit. The retailers, even though we're limiting it to one, say they went out of business or whatever, we have to have a provision for where the retail would go. So we have general business and light industrial is the most suitable. And for the non-retail types of businesses, which would be the cultivation and product manufacturing, the laboratories to do the studying and the testing, also a special permit in the same districts. So we believe that this is a conservative approach to regulating this type of business. Also, there's a blanket prohibition of social consumption facilities, which might be called bars, where you could, go and do this. I believe that is not allowed at the state level, period, right now, but they're considering allowing it in the future. So, we're prohibiting it, taking, again, a more conservative approach. Special permit criteria could be minimizing the impacts of traffic and noise, minimizing the impacts of odors generated from the facility. One thing that planners in the state are all coming up to speed on is the state of the art as far as what you need to do to regulate these and what sorts of controls you can place on the facilities to control the odor, to control noise, and that sort of thing. Another very important point is security measures, given the high value nature of the product as well as the transportation. The police department is charged with reviewing the security plans for all of these facilities, and those plans are kept confidential. So the police department and the fire department will review those security measures and report back to the planning board as to whether they're satisfactory or if they need improvement. And based on that, we will work to fine-tune things. We also have the ability to impose conditions as any other special permit. We can also address energy efficiency and conservation. It's in the interest of these businesses, especially cultivation, to be water efficient and energy efficient since they use a lot of water. The Littleton facility claims that they recycle virtually 100% of their water through a process of it. And also energy, they try to rotate the lights so as to minimize energy use. Hours of operation and ensuring compliance with the host community agreement and any agreements that the town has entered with the businesses is something the planning board can also oversee. That's a zoning map of the town, which shows the general business areas in pink, and the industrial areas are in light orange here, and along the railroad tracks in this purple area, which is probably the most likely area that we will see the non-retail sort of establishments are in the industrial districts, which are... Yeah, and this is a map that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission assisted us with to show in hatching. The green hatching are areas where these businesses may, operate by zoning. Excuse me?
Is that Fitchburg Road in that area? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my,
Yep. Yeah, and the areas in the light yellow are areas that are zoned residential where these businesses are completely prohibited. And what we also show in purple are areas that are schools or public parks. Here's the Sandy Beach Pond with a 200-foot buffer around it. You will notice that both the high school and elementary school and the Sandy Beach Park being centered in residential districts, it doesn't really apply. Even though they have a 200-foot buffer, you couldn't cite one of those businesses near these facilities in any case. Down here we have Peroni Park, and also here there's a preschool that's operated by, I believe, a church. I forgot the name of the
Kitty Depot.
Kitty Depot,
Oh,
yes.
Depot, and then there's one also up
And then that's-
behind us, which
Right.
is in the residential area.
Yep. So they have a 200-foot buffer as well from those. So between the buffers and the areas that you can do it, most of the town is off limits to these types of enterprises, but,
Yeah, makes sense. Westford Road, Willow Road, Fitchburg Road,
right,
East
yep,
Main Street, or West Main Street, I'm sorry.
yes,
Yeah.
yep. So, I believe we have a good bylaw. It's been completely reviewed by town council, and they believe it's a good product. I think it, is comprehensive without being overly long or overly complex, and I think it will serve us well going forward as we regulate these types of businesses.
You still have the ability to do 3% tax, right? No matter, even if it's not retail or no?
No, just the retail
Okay.
at this time,
So
yeah.
it's more negotiating other things in the host.
Correct, the impacts.
Yeah.
And that would be through the Board of Selectmen.
And generally speaking, the host agreements for non-retail are not as, I would say, generous, because the impact isn't as severe as a
I was gonna say,
retail.
Yeah.
you go by Taylor Street, you wouldn't know. I mean, and that's how most of these businesses are, what they do inside.
Technically, everything is supposed to be tied to the use, or, we have to track all our costs to the
Yeah.
municipality, and then you can negotiate it that way, but that's where the flaw is in the law, I think, is how can you negotiate a fee based on something that hasn't opened yet?
Right, correct.
So it's kind of touching.
Yeah, there's a lot of flaws with the commission that they really need to work on.
Yes, it seems every week the Boston Globe is coming out with a new story about what needs to be improved at the state level. And
Well, it looks good. I mean, I think it makes sense that we're getting ahead of it.
Yep.
Do we still have the proposals for Fitchburg Road that we had from a couple of years ago? They
No.
backed out?
Yeah.
I think he applied in every town in Massachusetts, but,
That's exactly what.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know in Westford and a few other communities, so, got it.
So we're gonna just, if I could, we need to come up with a process, this board, on how we're gonna vet. Because I feel like after June 10th, and then once the Attorney General approves it, we're gonna need some
And we already have people
guidelines.
nosing around. every
Oh,
now
I
and
have
then,
like
yeah.
8 people on the list already, so,
Right.
and thankfully, the Attorney General takes some time to review these things, so that'll be like a summer project for
Yeah.
us, but.
Yeah, I agree.
And just to conclude, in the interest of time, and Mark, thank you, and Mark did a great job leading
agree.
the working group. We believe that this is not only a step forward, it's a very conservative approach to this. I mean, as we've said, this is state law now. You can't just ignore it any longer. And as you can see, I think it provides the appropriate balance of control and opportunity and protections for the town. And also, we are confident that if town meeting passes it on June 10th, that it will also pass the state as well. So, and as the board knows, both of these articles, as the moderator agrees, will have full presentation. So what you saw was sort of the rough version of the presentation for the 10th.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
See you on the 10th.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, so with that, in the interest of time, I know we're running behind, but a lot of good conversations. Just briefly, you have the warrants that I reviewed and approved since the board last met on May 7th. In terms of the update, as everybody knows, we had a very positive and successful groundbreaking yesterday for the parking facility. Very positive event. I do have here the official citation to the town of Ayer from the House of Representatives commemorating the occasion. It was a very positive groundbreaking. The project is moving forward. The good news, knock on linoleum, is the project is ahead of schedule and on budget. So that moves forward. One of the things that we have asked is every Friday they have a project meeting. They will be providing the town with a public construction update, which we will post and have that information available every Friday after that meeting. So as there are major developments with the project, the public is informed. One of the things I'll get to in just a moment, but with the conclusion of this town meeting, as I did last year, I will be asking all departments that have projects or programs that were passed on May 13th to provide my office with a timeline for completion, which I will obviously copy the board on. That worked pretty well last year. So all the things that were approved on May 13th, what is the schedule and plan for implementation moving forward. Also, 2 weeks ago, the town of Ayer received the Housing Choice Community designation by Governor Baker up in Haverhill. Alan and Alicia represented the town at that event, and a lot of hard work went into that application by Alicia and Alan. Being a Housing Choice community is significant because it opens the town of Ayer up to a lot of grant opportunities, not just housing, but economic development. The governor, who will be the governor for the next 4 years, his administration, it's all about housing. So if you're not a Housing Choice community, you're not in the front, running. So that's been positive. It's also part of our master plan. Alicia has also put together a housing working group or housing program group that's been meeting on Fridays. So that's very positive. We've been spending a lot of time preparing for the June 10th special town meeting. The board has probably noticed, as the public, the Global Montello project is moving forward. Over half of the former Maxent building has already been demolished. There have been no issues or complaints to the office about that project as it moves forward. 2 weeks ago, I did meet with the Board of Trustees of the Woodlawn Cemetery. As the board knows, that's the cemetery right over here. We had a very good conversation. They had invited me to come because one of the challenges that they are facing in the near future is a funding issue. As people's burial styles and so forth change, there is a potential funding challenge facing Woodlawn. And we had a very good conversation. As the board knows, in the warrant, we did increase at their request, small amount, the amount per graves for the veterans. But there's going to be a need for future discussions about Woodlawn Cemetery because it is not a town, obviously, cemetery. But we have a responsibility, obviously, to those buried there or will be buried there, that it's maintained and is a gateway to the town. So it was just a preliminary discussion of their funding challenges and options moving forward. So more to come on that. The Groton Harvard Road intersection, the interim improvements, I just wanted to mention that Mark is going to have the new line painting and striping done there. He also was successful in contacting the private property owner that has all of those bushes, and they're amenable to a plan to replace those in the signs, the hospital signs and so forth. So those should be imminent, those interim improvements. And then as the board is aware, he does have funding for the longer term design on that. The town hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will just say the double yellow line they did actually paint it slightly curved more, which tightens the lane, and just visibly when you're coming from from the offset side, it absolutely changes your whole perspective.
I agree.
So I think
I noticed that as well.
that's just been a little improvement.
I'll
Made
let
some
him know.
Huge impacts.
Okay. So we will continue to move forward on that. The rewiring key card project for the town hall is underway. The next major step will be, I think, on June 7th, but that's the rewiring of all of the internal infrastructure for IT, as well as the key card system and the security cameras. So that is moving forward as well. And I would also like to just mention, as we're moving forward to Memorial Day, just a special thank you, as always, to Miss Mary Spinner, who provided the plants and did all of the planting in the Memorial Garden. It looks very nice. Thank you. And in preparation for this weekend's event, and we do greatly appreciate that. My next item, Mr. Chair, and in the interest of time, I did want to just touch upon it, but I think when we have a full board, if the board doesn't object in June, for the June 4th meeting, but for the purposes of tonight, as I mentioned at the last meeting, I would prepare sort of an FY20 budget town meeting sort of process review memo, which you have in your packet. And what I did was I looked at the past year, and overall the past year had many successes, some things that we learned, some areas of improvement, and potentially maybe some things that we need to really look at. I'll just give just a brief overview, and it's up to the board in the interest of time how much you want to discuss tonight, but I think there's some of these things are larger discussions. But just very quickly, the successes, the budget and town meeting calendar that the board approved was a huge success. That was the first time we had an official, sanctioned by the Board of Selectmen calendar for all of the major things, and we met all of those benchmarks until we get to the compression towards the end of the year, which I'll talk about as an area for needs for improvement. But I would recommend that the board, that the BI board, the administration, Board of Selectmen, starting in June, that again or starting even now, which we prepare the next calendar for FY21 to ultimately be approved by the Board of Selectmen in August. One of the areas that we need to discuss and look at is the end part, which I get in later in the memo, the end part of the budget cycle where we got into the compression. Scheduling the contract negotiations earlier was a positive. It was the first time we had 3 major contracts done in time to have the costs actually integrated into the budget as terms of the impact. Next year we only have one group, the Town Hall Clerical Union. I'd recommend, again, we start with that group in October, and we should meet that benchmark. Starting the capital planning process, the way we did, and I appreciate the committee's commitment, Mr. Chairman, as you know, to meeting weekly when we were in the deliberative process. There was a lot of good discussions there and a lot of progress made, and I think meeting weekly, though difficult, was a positive.
I like that we started it a little earlier this year too. That was the end.
Yeah, and starting earlier. So I would recommend a similar model on that. The forums, and I'll come back to that, we did the setting the tax rate forum back in September. The quality of the forum was very professional and very informative. Our challenge with these forums, obviously, is getting attendance. In the one we did in the fall, we had about 6 residents. the overview that I did, which we want to look at doing that sooner and doing that as a larger budget group, we had about 10 folks. I think we need to further discuss, and I'd like to with the Board of Selectmen as we move forward on these public forums. I'm not saying that they don't work and they're taped and filmed and so forth, but what can we do? This is somewhat rhetorical for the purposes of tonight, but what can we do to improve participation moving
$1 million
forward?
question, I think, for
Which will hit
everything,
yeah, well,
everything in town.
And so, one of the things I thought was positive, I have no problem doing, I defer to the board, but starting in January, when each of your meetings, I did sort of an FY 2020 budget update where we selected a topic, whether it was the use of free cash, the budget. I've appreciated the opportunity of the board. I think that was positive. We haven't quite done that before with regular budget updates. I think that was a positive. The executive buy board, Selectman Hood said it recently, I think is working really well. Not that it hasn't in the past, but it's had sort of a resurgence. I think adding the treasurer, tax collector, and Miss Antonellis to it, we had a lot of successes through the buy board in an advisory sense, and we'd like to keep that momentum going, moving forward. The budget and town meeting public forum, again, I think overall was positive. The challenge was it was done a week before town meeting, so that gets back into our compression towards the end, so lesson learned. And the same challenge of, maybe more outreach or how do we get people to attend. But one of the things we didn't get to do with the compression of the schedule was we had wanted to do a larger public budget forum, and we ran out of time. I mean, lesson learned, but we can address that moving forward. Little things, the capital exclusion outreach, we stole a page from Mr. Minoyan's book when the chief and I did the video on it to try to get some outreach. Whether that worked or not, we don't know, but I will say that I think the use of multimedia and further developing that is a positive.
Well, I think the videos do help. I think
Yeah.
people tend to click on those.
I think you need to almost drive it towards a social media audience. So
Okay.
therefore,
Yeah,
the
I agree.
videos are necessary.
A huge success, and we heard a lot of positive from town meeting and since was the budget book. A special thanks to Selectman Hood's vision and to the buy board that made
Sincere
that.
thank you to Carly.
And to Miss Antonellis on putting it together. Selectman Hood said it best when he first presented this to the buy board. Rome was obviously not built in a day. We have a format we want to use, we're developing. We want to build upon this success, so we will. One of the things I think we do need to discuss, as we learned, is budgeting for the printing costs, because it needs to be in color, and we can do it electronically, but we need hard copies.
The
And-
explanatory notes too, like
Yeah.
maybe highlight them with the most obnoxious color in the world.
Oh, in the
because-
warrant.
The warrant, because it was like
Yeah.
every question that was asked was like, look at the bottom.
So-
It's right there.
So here's an example with that budget book. We printed 150 colored copies, and that cost $775. In the interest of time, and we have full board, I know we have visited this time and time again, but we have to have a serious discussion, as I get later in the memo, about the printing costs. The printing of the warrant went through the roof because the company we used to use is gone, and the new company was considerable increase in costs. And as I'll get to in just a second, we mailed 3,700 warrants, plus had another 500 printed, yet we had 126 people attend town meeting, or a 2%, turnout, which I'll get to in a minute. I know we've talked about postcards and so forth. We're all about getting that information out, but I think we'll update the presentation that Ms. Antonellis did last year, those numbers. We do have to, at least, I'd like the board to look at those printing costs, especially with the budget book. there's a cost, we can do it, but I think we just need to have that
And
discussion.
it has to be a paper copy, right? Per state regulation, you have to mail.
So, no,
The warrant.
Warrant, I thought, no?
No, you
No.
don't have to mail a warrant.
Okay.
So
We do.
Right, we have done, since the Town Government Study Committee, it was a good recommendation, I think from 2000 or so, was to mail a warrant, to every household. And there's 3,772 of those. The printing costs
Isolated to registered
in post
voters.
was $3,100. I just think we need to just reevaluate everything. I mean, legally, the requirements of the posting of it in 3 locations in each precinct, which we have a couple extra we post, as well as online. And I'm not saying that I'm not making a decision either way, I'm just observation. Also, in terms of town meeting outreach, in addition to some of the traditional things we have always done, signs posted throughout the town, the website, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. I did adopt this from my colleague from the town of Sudbury. We did the articles of the day, so leading up to town
good.
meeting, there was 2 articles featured each day with a synopsis. I think that was positive. It was easy enough for myself to do and Cindy put up. I recommend we keep, doing that. The effectiveness of the outreach is difficult to quantify because I go back to the fact that on the 13th, we had 126 people, just made 2% of the turnout. I think and there's probably a million reasons why, but I think we need to have a robust discussion about the outreach for town meeting. One of the things we wanted to do, we want to do it right, the BY board talked about it, and is to do some kind of, we had envisioned doing like an exit survey or something at town meeting to try to get people's feedback on attendance and participation. And I know that we have talked about, probably over the last 20 years, and I think we should get the town clerk and the town moderator, we've had discussions about do we move town meeting?
I think we should try it, maybe even just once to see, or at least we've discussed it, but, some towns have great, Westford does theirs on a Saturday, they get a great turnout. Obviously, 25,000 people compared to 7 makes a big difference, but, maybe it's worth a shot.
Going to the communities that have switched to Saturday and see what their quorum did before and after. And then compare that to, like your example of Westford, compare that to the number of voters they had. Look at it from a percentage of, whether it's still running in 3 or 4% if they move to Saturday.
So we could get some information, from, for example, Lunenburg does theirs on a Saturday, but they don't let anybody leave for lunch because they don't come back. They ask people to stay.
So we can feed people.
But I think we should have, and I'm not saying we haven't over the years, but I think we really, with the town clerk, the town moderator, BOS, really look at it and what do we do about it?
I think we have to try something. I mean, even if it's just a 1 year where we have Springtown meeting on a Saturday and see with the outreach and see how we do. Obviously, it's based on the articles too. I mean, I could have probably given you the name of everybody in the audience tonight. You probably could too, because it's always the same people, and I always respect that. But there was a few new people, but.
The other thing too, to do that, we would have to change our bylaw, which requires a town meeting vote. So we have to be thinking at least
Can we
like
do that
18 months out,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So
it'll be 2 years from now.
pretty much.
we
We could look at the calendar with Susan and.
Yeah, why don't, so,
because we've been kicking this around for a while, at least.
And the moderator's on board with looking at Saturdays.
he is, when I talk to him, he has a vision of doing it on Saturday and having a barbecue and then reconvening. And I know, so what I think we should do is, let's get some information from our comparable communities, and then let's schedule, the 4th is gonna be too soon, but I think we should have a discussion, a public discussion with the town clerk, and I'll invite the moderator, and we'll get the info, as Ms. Antonellis mentioned, let's map it out, because it does require a change to the bylaw, like what's the whole thing involve?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But,
Because you're gonna get, if you move it to Saturdays, you're gonna get,
oh yeah,
my
this,
son, I mean, and I get it, my son does baseball and soccer, Saturdays this time of year are crazy busy. You do it during Mondays, and you get people to say, well, it's late, I have no childcare.
Yeah.
Maybe on Saturdays,
Childcare, I think, is something
we could
that
offer,
should look at.
and maybe set up something in the gym where, where.
We've had childcare at
Mhm.
a couple of town meetings.
Yep.
here and
Yeah,
there.
or just activities, I mean, kids can come, or maybe we do it a little later where we're beyond the spring sports, so,
yeah, when I talked, I guess
earlier
we
probably,
did
yeah.
have it, and then it wasn't being used, and then they stopped doing it, when I talked to the superintendent,
Yeah, it would
but
have to be March.
they're not opposed to it.
Late March,
Um,
early April,
Yeah,
But,
which I think is doable, but
I agree, yeah, I think so too.
I'd rather have the election after town meeting myself anyways, in terms
Well, that's
of
another-
people sitting on if you
that's
have people
another
getting off or,
issue.
voted out, at least you have them.
Yeah.
so what if we, because we want to get the best information, what
We'll
if,
get that all together.
what if for the second meeting in June, when I'm getting a second meeting in June, we at least get an initial sketch of what would be involved to do the mechanics on the change, and we'll get some preliminary information from towns that do it on Saturday, towns that, different in what their experience is. Talk to the town clerk and the moderator. I know she'll definitely come and, assuming his schedule, come and at least continue the conversation as to what we do about it. So again, the turnout is a challenge, across the Commonwealth. Initially talking, obviously, people turn up for things that they're not happy about. For example, the town of Rutland recently had 820 people show up at their town meeting because of a regional school issue that was very contentious. Our neighbors in Townsend went till 1 in the morning. Of course, there was a $1 million deficit up there this year. Pepperell, another $1 million deficit.
Yeah, problems tend to.
So,
Yeah.
and of course, and the weather on Monday was not ideal, but
Doesn't rain inside.
what I found fascinating was there was 126 people at 2% turnout. And the questions, they really weren't on the budget. I'm just speaking from my vantage point. There weren't a lot of passes. As we do know, the moderator passed over the budget presentation, but there was an explanatory note in the warrant too that said a presentation will be made. And I'm not casting stones, but there was no, Selectman Hood and I obviously noticed it, but there was no outcry. And we had a fabulous presentation, which we can still put on there.
Maybe you just need to.
But we've talked about this before. I still have this being my 9th one here. I'm just saying, like, as we're sitting there, everything pretty much passed. Is it that people are okay with that? Is it that people don't understand something? Is it that they don't care? What I'm getting at is we had that same phenomenon sort of again. So
It seems to be, this community for some reason doesn't seem to be, and I don't know, maybe because it's a lot of new people that moved in. I think there's turned over a little bit in the last 15 years. And you tend to see the people who have been here since, let's say, before 2000 or whatever, or more entrenched in the community. But I did a service called the Groton Country Club, and they vote in Groton at the country club. It was a zoo today for Selectmen. Our election was today.
Yeah, there's
And it was crazy how many people were in, and that was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, I know Groton's a much bigger town, but you'd think we would get that. And as Janice said, maybe it's a testament there, to how things are run here, but,
So from my vantage point,
I tend to think
My
it's involved.
my concluding observation, and if there is an objection, I can put this, I think, under my report when Selectman Livingston's back, and we can further digest it, because there's a lot here, and some of this probably needs to be broken out. But in conclusion, I will say that overall, the FY 2020 budget process and town meeting process overall was an overall success. The majority of the new initiatives and projects, the majority were successful. Specifically, the budget schedule and the budget book were two huge major successes. The buy board is re-energized and has been very effective. We want to keep that momentum going. One of the things that when I meet with the buy board on the top of the agenda, if you will, is as we develop the new schedule, is look at that schedule crunch. Specifically, we want to build in that the budget is done sooner so there is more public engagement. It got crunched. We learned. Now we ran out of time. Now we're aware of it. We'll build that in. We'll continue to build upon the budget book, and we welcome input on that. And we'll continue to look at the public forums as well as the public outreach. I mean, we do a lot. I'm sure some of it's effective, maybe some of it isn't, maybe some of these forums are more interested than others, but that remains a point, I think, for further development. And I do think, to the extent we can, the idea of the exit survey, I know we've done a lot of surveys, but I'm interested in how we can get more specific information from the public, specifically those that do go to town meeting and to the elections and so forth, as to how can we improve. And that's not an easy undertaking, but I do look forward to moving forward. And I also do appreciate Selectman Hood giving public updates to the BOS on what the buy board is doing as well. So in the interest of time, I know there's a lot there, but I think we should continue the conversation on the 4th and really look at some of these major issues.
I agree.
The next item, and I appreciate, I'll turn it over through the chair to Ms. Antonellis. You have a memo that Ms. Antonellis prepared on beer and wine license application process. So we have a unique situation regarding this, which I'll ask Carly through the chair to give a brief overview on. We're looking for guidance from the board how to proceed.
Thank you. So it's kind of like what I just spoke about with the marijuana process. We need to develop a process here for host agreements. So in my 5 years that I've worked here now, it's if someone turns in a liquor license or sells their liquor license, someone's right up to bat. Now that the vineyard is now all alcohol, they've changed their category per town meeting vote and then the legislative action. We have a beer and wine license available. We've been asked by 3 different people, I have on a list again, how's that process gonna unfold? Because
See, I just would have thought that would have went away, and like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
changed
I
to
assume that
too.
alcohol, but I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I spoke with the executive director of the ABCC
It's
last week.
It's not
just
that
to
simple.
confirm,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I thought it would just free up another beer and wine license, and I was right on that. So I have to write him a memo that, it's all been done by the BOS, they have it on file. But I'm just looking for guidance, and as town council says, there is really no guidance. You can do it either way.
Yeah.
Just, should I call these 3 people and say, hey, the license is now available? Should we put it in the newspaper? We haven't ever had this problem where we have
Right.
3 people going for 1 license.
I think it's a
And
saturated
maybe,
market, my God.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
to
one of my
our-
questions is, do we have to do anything at all?
if we have one available and a valid application comes in, that you have to issue it.
We need to.
Well, I mean, do we have, if it was based on the ballot, I guess.
Yeah, if there's a
Talked about not
valid,
putting-
I don't know why, I don't see a reason not to, pending they have a good application and ABCC approves.
Yeah.
And, from an applicant's perspective, where we just granted another one, obviously there's some need, perceived
Apparently.
or not, but,
Well, you'll see when we get the litter pickup, all the nip bottles on the
Yeah.
north side of the road, so.
yeah, I was there, so I get it. So I'm looking for guidance. I do have 3 names. They're spread out over town in businesses. I can tell you it's a bigger company and 2 smaller companies. One company already has a liquor license at a different location, so we could advertise it. We have one available, and whoever comes in first will process, or we could open a window where these 3 people or possibly more could submit an application to us, and you could hear them all in one night. I'm just looking for the best.
The question or concern I have is how do you put together a proper vetting process? Like what kind of questions what kind of information would be looking for from the applicants that would actually differentiate them to guide us towards a decision?
So what the town council says is this public need, that you would weigh heavily if you have someone applying next to someone that.
Location, for
Right,
example.
exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Do you need two in the same plaza? Probably not, but that's up to you guys to decide. So, it's the consideration of where the public need is. So again, it's pretty vague and we haven't been in this predicament yet.
This has
so-
happened before. I think we declined a license at a gas station at one point, maybe 5 years ago, over here at the.
It's even longer than that, was
Yeah,
when you were
Yeah,
first.
wasn't that an extra one that
And
they
then-
were going
and
to
then,
increase for the gas station?
Was it sold? I can't remember. And then we ended up approving it because it was all alcohol. That's what it was.
Right.
And I didn't go for it because I believe it was all alcohol at gas stations. But, so I think we've kind of run across this.
So
A
I
few times.
do think moving forward, we should put it in our policies and procedures. There's nothing there. Robert and I looked. So again, I'm happy to reach out to all three and say, you can get an application and we'll take it up in June or July, all three. Or do you want to just say first come, first serve and I call no one? I'm just looking for it to be the fairest process.
I'd like to have a little control over
I agree.
the location, so
Yeah.
therefore the need. So maybe we open it up to all three, let them put their applications in.
Yeah.
And then we can start looking at the location first.
That's what I thought was fair, because if someone comes in right away and we just do it, but we know there's two others in the mix.
Yeah.
Are we really serving the public?
No, and we don't.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're not spread out as it is now. We have two. We have the mobile. We have Mr. Barry's. Then you have the Rotary. We don't need any more of the Rotary. Here's the Rotary. And
So my suggestion is, if it's okay with you, if we say, okay, the Board of Selectmen will consider it, you have till this date to submit an application, and then we'll do all three
I
in
mean,
one night.
I mean, Littleton's doing that with their marijuana license right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a higher, but why not? I'd rather hear what these people have to say and what they're.
I think it's just fair to have all three in the room at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
And we're two are local businesses. One is a bigger company. I don't want our local guys also to feel the pinch. So, I think Robert and I have batted this around. I think we should, in this instance, contact them, give them a deadline
Yeah.
to tee it up for like the second meeting in June or the meeting in July, and then we can put something in our policies and procedures. I don't think we should have to, necessarily make them wait that long. So that could take a while.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So the next item that you have in the packet is the special town meeting warrant for June 10th at 7 p.m. You also have in there a letter from the chairman of the planning board with the planning board's position on the form-based code and the marijuana enterprise zoning bylaw. The planning board supports and recommends both articles, Article 1 being the marijuana zoning, Article 2 the form-based code. As the board knows, the planning board will be on the stage with the BOS on June 10th because the planning board has to give a report to town meeting on both articles. Mr. Archambault will be giving the information presentation that you saw tonight on Article 1. Article 2, there will be an information presentation made by Mr. Minoyan. The warrant that you have in the packet the articles have been reviewed and approved by town council, and we're respectfully recommending that the board approve the warrant. Then we will be posting the warrant by this Friday. The warrant will be going to print and sent to all households as we've done in the past.
And it's much shorter, as you can see.
Yeah.
Which we were surprised. I guess I was. You didn't have to put the text of everything, and you could just reference that it's on file in the town clerk's office and that it's online. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make
Okay.
a motion to approve the special town meeting warrant for June 10th, 2019.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And, Mr. Chairman, is it okay on both Article 1 and Article 2 where it says Board of Selectmen to put recommends? You'll see.
I don't want to speak for Scott, but yeah, I mean, for I have no problems with, I think they're great, so,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. All right. Lastly, just so the board is aware, town council will be at this meeting. It'll be both Mark Rich and attorney Amy Quessel. Amy Quessel worked closely with the town, specifically on the form-based code. We're not being charged for both, but we want to have the appropriate legal
That makes
expertise present. So, thank you.
All right.
The last item, and I appreciate the board's time, is a one-day beer and wine license for St. Mary's Parish. Is that for the,
It's Saturday, June 1st for the block party, and they're looking to sell beer and wine from 12 PM to 10 PM. And I've sent this through the public safety folks, there were no issues.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the St. Mary's one-day beer and wine license on June 1st from 1 PM to 9 PM.
12 to 10.
12 to 10, this is 1 to 9, from roughly. From 1 to
Oh,
9,
so
roughly.
go to the next paragraph, that's
Oh,
what, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did that too when I was typing it.
All right. Oh, yeah, there you go. From beer and wine from 12 to 10 on the next line. What's that, right? I think I got it all.
Yep, I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi. It's a great event. The weather's good.
so, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Thank you for the board's time this evening, and I look forward to further discussing the budget town meeting process as well as goals for next year as we move forward on June 4th.
Well, good job.
Thank you.
Quick question, have the bids been returned for the Park and Recreations facility?
No,
Okay.
it is going out to bid
Still isn't out the bid?
on May 30th. There have been delays, not on the town side. There is a new schedule, we're just confirming it. It is scheduled to go out to bid, we're just getting confirmation. The schedule is May 30th. We're not thrilled about that, it's 2 months behind.
Yeah, we talked to Capital. trying to get it out
But if
before
all
town
goes
meeting.
planned, and we're confident of a successful bid, if all goes planned under the schedule, construction would commence in August. But I will have a definitive update. I've asked Mr. Thomas to confirm with the architect this schedule.
And I assume we'll be hearing from the superintendent on the latest proposal for
The field.
the field
So
at some point in the.
I've been playing phone tag with Dr. Malone. I will connect with her this week. They did have a meeting up at the school committee about another field proposal.
Mhm.
I anticipate that she'll want to come down to meet with the Board of Selectmen to discuss the field. And as I always remind her, the Board of Selectmen also want to discuss the elementary school and the capital plan. So let me connect with her, but there
There's
is...
tunnel vision on that field right
There
now,
is,
so
I know that
Yeah.
Superintendent Wetzel was involved on something regarding a revised plan,
Mhm.
but let me connect with her to see what the plan is on that. I anticipate she'll want to come back down.
All right. Makes sense. Scott, do you have any questions?
I don't have anything on new business.
And reorganization, we're going to move to our next meeting, which is
June 4th.
June 4th, all right. And anybody got anything else?
I'll make a motion to approve meeting minutes of May 7th, 2019.
The second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I will make a motion to adjourn, I wish it said was 8:25, I make a motion to adjourn at 9:30, 9:28.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please adjourn, good job.